Blog Talk Radio.
Today's franchise interview shout-out goes to the Source Direct. Source Direct is an inventor's one-stop shop. Source Direct eliminates the disconnect in dealing with different companies from each phase of development and marketing. Instead, Source Direct can manage every stage of the process from the drawing board to the customer. Go to thesourcedirect.net and find out how you can get started. That's www.thesourcedirect.net.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 12 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Scott Walker, CEO of Screenmobile. And Screenmobile is the nation's largest mobile window screen repair business with over 100 franchise owners and growing. Screenmobile specializes in window, door and patio, porch screen, and solar shading products. And for over 35 years with no national competitors, their franchise owners have enjoyed years of growth and success. We're going to talk to Scott about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 12 years now, we've been asking the Franchipreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Scott Walker, the CEO of Screenmobile. And Screenmobile is the nation's largest mobile window screen repair business with over 100 franchise owners and growing. Hi, Scott. How are you? Welcome to the show. Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you, Marty, and glad to be here.
Thanks, Scott. It's great to have you back. You know, we like to have our guests back from time to time, Scott. And I didn't realize it's been I think it was about 4 years since I last spoke to you, but it seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
It does. It really does, Marty. A lot's happened in 4 years. So it's great to be back, and thanks for
Oh,
Thanks.
you're welcome. That's why I wanted to have you back, of all the exciting changes. Since that time, Scott, we've had a lot of new listeners to our show, and, Screenmobile has had some really amazing milestones because I've been following your success. Maybe, we can go back to the beginning. It was funny, Scott, because I was talking last week to my business students, and we were talking about businesses that started in the garage, and I forgot Screenmobile was one of those businesses, weren't they?
Marty, how could you forget that? We're out of California, and there's 3 great companies that came out of garages in California.
That's right.
Apple, Microsoft, and Screenmobile. So
that's right. That's right.
Just throwing it out there.
That's fantastic. Maybe go back to that beginning, Scott, because, as I said, we have so many new listeners to the show, and I've always been impressed with the story of, how the whole concept of Screenmobile really came about.
Marty, we had a house doctor franchise. My dad, myself, and my brother started a house doctor franchise as a franchisee. And we started that, worked that for a couple of years, and just had a hard time getting along with the franchisor because the expectations of when you sign up and the reality were just not the same. And so we said, you know what, if we ever started a franchise system, we would sure do things differently. And so that relationship, we both mutually kind of released each other and went away, and we started Screenmobile. We found out that in the screening industry, there was 4,000 screening companies in the United States when we started, but nobody had been really specializing in the customer's aspect of that, of offering convenience.
Right.
And so we had an old tent trailer that we used to take things to the dump when we were doing our house doctor work, and at the time we built a screening table and put it in our garage in Glendora, California. And we had a call, if you know anything about the LA basin, traffic's horrendous. So a lady called us and said, hey, I want a couple window screens 45 minutes away. And so we're thinking, okay, 45 minutes to go down there and measure it, 45 minutes to come back and make them, 45 minutes to go back and put them in, 45 minutes to come back. It just didn't make sense. So we looked at the trailer that was sitting there empty and the table, and I said, well, let's just put the table in the trailer and we'll go do it at the same time. And that was the birth of Screenmobile. I wish we were smart enough to say, hey, let's put a plan together. Here's a niche in an industry that's not being fulfilled. Here's how it's going to – no, we didn't. That we're just 3 guys trying to make a living and trying to do some cost savings. And that was a birth of an industry, and it worked. And the lady next door came up, and we did some screens for her, and we're like, wow, we're onto something here. And so then we started franchising.
Necessity is the mother of invention, right, Scott? I mean, it is. That's really how you learn it. And I've always been a big fan, because we've been doing the show such a long time now, Scott, is the mobile businesses, is really being able to get around the location aspect. We have a lot of, particularly like there's so many food franchises out there, locations always seems to be a problem. In retail, sometimes it's a problem, but you don't deal with those things, do you?
You know what? We don't, and it's especially when our guys start up. They don't have to go into a brick and mortar, and they don't have that expense to cover. And so they can start out of their garage. They can start out of a self-storage. They can, if they have property, they can actually build a building and pay themselves and use their company to pay for the building. There's all kinds of ways. But, yeah, that's a huge benefit, especially as they start up. And if we hit any type of a bump coming up the next couple of years, they'll be glad they don't have a brick and mortar to take care of.
We have, I don't know if I told you this story last time on the show, Scott. I apologize if I did, but we have this one gentleman in Easton, Pennsylvania, and I swear he must fix everyone's screen in this area, but he must be approaching his 90s. And, the problem is it takes so long to get your screen back, and Screenmobile really, it solves a problem in the marketplace. As you're meeting with new or prospective franchisees, if you were like at a franchise show, how do you typically describe the concept to a prospective franchisee?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Marty. In the screening world, when I explain that, and I'll explain it in just a second, when I explain it, they come with the preconceived notion that all we do is window screens. And so in their mind, they're thinking, okay, how many window screens do I have in my house, and what do? You rescreen and replace them? And so that's kind of the basis where we get most of our people. And so what we explain to them is that we have a system, and that system we're going to teach you how to measure, manufacture, and install window, doors, porch, and patio screens. But more than that, we're going to teach you the cornerstones of what makes Screenmobile successful. What are the building blocks that have been around for over 36 years that we sit on that makes us who we are and makes us successful? And so we tell them that we do, from your window screens. So we start them thinking about window screens, but then do you have a front door? Like, yes. Well, do you have a door covering on that? What kind of covering? And you say, well, we cover it with a retractable door, a screen door, a storm door, a security door, an aluminum security door, a stainless steel security door, or a retractable door where you don't even see it. They're like, well, I didn't know that. And then you have a back porch? They're like, well, yeah. Do you have mosquitoes where you live? Oh, yeah, we got lots of them. So you have and then you start going through all the different porch options where we can just rescreen them, we can restaple them, we can make 2x2, we can make it weather resistant, we can make it a 3 seasons room. What do you want to do with that? And then you start talking about, I don't want it there, I just like it out of the way. So we talk about rolling and motorized and hooking up to your home automation with different types of screens, and then you start, then their eyes start to open up, going, oh my gosh.
Right.
I had no idea. And you're like, yeah. So here's how we work, is any place somebody wants a screen made, we can do that. So we're a mobile concept. That's one of those cornerstones. And they're like, so what kind of screens do you need made? What do your neighbors need made? And we'll come right there. The other cornerstone is convenience. I mean, anytime you can do a business with somebody and it's easy and convenient, that's one of the big cornerstones of success. Just making it real simple, real easy to do business with. And how much easier, Marty, you and I are talking, if I needed a plumber to come out, I can call him up, he'll show up, he'll take care of it and be gone. Well, in the screening industry, there's nobody that really does that.
Right, exactly.
Because they have a shop located in some brick and mortar. And so what we said, well, let's take our shop and locate it on a trailer. And so one of our core cornerstones that we build our company on is we're a mobile concept. And we will come out, we'll bring our product to them, and we'll measure, manufacture, and install their window, doors, porches, and patio screens right at the job site. And then the fourth thing that we found, that's one of our cornerstones, is the marketing ability of the truck and trailer. Oh my gosh, Marty, over the 36 years, when that truck and trailer pulls up, it's like an event. They just love it. I mean, look at them, and it builds credibility because they're doing it right in your front yard or in your driveway, or they're making me screens right there. They're going to be perfect. Oh man, it works really well. It's a
moving billboard, isn't it, Scott?
Oh my gosh, and we've actually hired a company about 10 years ago to brand us correctly. And so we met with him. We did a brand positioning workshop, and he says, "This is what you need to be telling your customers, and this is who your customers are. This is you need to be telling them." And we've done that, and oh my gosh, it works really well.
That's fantastic. Last time I talked to you, Scott, you just hit you just served like your 1 millionth customer. You've been doing this now, I think it was 36 years. You have over 100 franchisees. Those are significant numbers. As I mentioned, doing the show a long time, I find it rare that we have, franchises that have been in business this long and have over 100 plus franchisees. Those numbers are significant. What is all of it attributed to?
Marty, I think a lot of the growth is making sure that our franchisees are healthy. Everybody in the franchising world, most franchisors, they look at health and sales, and they equate those. If the guys are doing great in sales, they've got to be healthy. And are they really being productive, and they're getting the results that they want? Well, there's another column on that, and is the franchisee being a good steward of his money, and is he running a business so it's a healthy business, making some good, healthy decisions? And so what we've learned over the 36 years of doing this is there's more than just helping somebody understand how to make screens. It's helping them understand how to make good business decisions for the long game.
right.
so that they can be around for a long time in our system. We have it's 10 years in our system. And that's how long one license goes for. And so we want to make sure that they get up, they get on their feet, and they start making some good business decisions that maybe are a little hard to make now, but they'll pay off in the long run and make them a healthier business owner in their franchise. And so,
I know your renewal rates are really high too, aren't they, Scott? I looked at that. I saw all these different numbers and all these different accolades that Screenmobile's had over the years, and it's very impressive, isn't it? When you look at that, I ask the question: is why?
Right. Why are these guys renewing? And I would love to say because they love Screenmobile family, they love the way the corporate offices run, they love everything about it. And now they're making money. It's their reality.
Down to
it's great. That's the extra benefit if they like us
sure.
and we get along and we can work well together. That's part of how franchising works. But more than anything, they renew because they make good money.
How technology seems to be moving so fast today, Scott. I mean, how's Screenmobile using technology today as opposed to maybe 5 to 10 years ago?
Great question. We have gone along with the trend of hopefully most other service companies to embrace technology and find a operating system that works for you. And so we got a team of franchisees together about 6-7 years ago and looked at about 200 different operating systems. And here's the requirement stock. And so each of you go look at 5 or 10 of these, see what you like, what you don't like. And we kind of focused in on one service provider that does a great job with our system. And so now that's what we use. And it works great on your phones, on your tablet, and so now our guys, one of the requirements, they have to have a smartphone. They also, and when they come through training, we actually get them a tablet, so they train right off their tablet. And so they learn from the very beginning that this is how you operate a service business. There's so many service. When I was doing service work, and we started, it was all, you'd write it down on a calendar, and then you'd write out a paper ticket. And those days there are still guys out there doing that. I mean, there's still service-based companies doing that. But what we do is, you can email the customer an invoice, you can email a quote, you can send them before and after pictures, and they're happy to receive that. And it just makes it really easy for my franchisees to do it from a technology standpoint. The only thing that I found with technology is you're still dealing with people.
Sure.
So it's people in people's homes. So you can have all the technology you want, but you can't miss the customer service part of it, because that's kind of the cornerstone of what's been successful and what continue to be successful. You can't have technology step in front of somebody. You can have them help them, but you can't have them be that's not your lead.
That's an excellent point. It's safe to say that, your industry is huge, Scott. It's really anybody that has a screen. And, Screenmobile also focuses on, I think we touched upon this last time, is you could focus also on businesses, I guess, as well. I imagine most of the percentage is coming from residential market, of course. But, you do have businesses as well, don't you?
You know what, Marty, I put it in a category as any place you want to screen, we will go.
Right.
So if you give me an example, we had a guy down in the south that got a call from a customer who lived on an island, and the only way to get to his island is you have to take a barge.
Wow.
And you'll have to go there, spend the night at his place, and then come back the next day. Like, no problem, we'll go there. Drive on a barge, take all your equipment, you do it right there. If it's 25 miles down a dirt road to put in a bunch of security window screens to protect this ranch house out in the middle of nowhere, sure, we'll do that. If it's on the pier at Long Beach, California, to do screens at the end of the pier for the restaurant down there, yeah, we'll drive right on the pier. It doesn't matter. And if it's a school, we'll do the screens at the school. We'll do screens at restaurants. We did a lot of Buffalo Wild Wings. We did a lot of their porches and patios, commercial applications. We do a lot of apartment complexes, hotels, condos, townhomes. with the Florida that just went through Panama City. There was a hotel right next to that close area that tore up all of their, I think, 200 screened-in porches. Our guys have been, asking for help to do that down there. It's just amazing the amount of screening work once you really start looking at it and what's available out there. So Marty, we kind of go right towards residential homes, but we do with builders, contractors, remodelers, apartments, military housing, schools, facilities, hotels, apartments, any place. I mean, we did 600 doors out of our office for a big hotel. No problem.
Wow, it's incredible.
Whatever you need.
It's fascinating. What's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you, Scott, since launching Screenmobile? I know you probably have 1,000 different stories. If you and I were having a cup of coffee, the barge one that's a very interesting story. But does anything stand out? I mean, over all of this time that you've been doing this?
God, there's so many different things that we've done. We try and teach a philosophy of yes. You call us up, Marty, and say, hey, listen, I've got pot-bellied pigs that's pushing out the screens. Do you guys have pig screen? Yes, we do.
Wow.
We got a call from a lady that had a horse ranch, and she'd let her horses just walk around, and the horses would come up to her screen door and lean in to see where she's at and push the screen out. And she calls up, you have horse screen? Sure. Whatever you need. And so you try and go with an attitude of yes. And we've had, all kinds of screening work we've done in different areas. And one of the ones that I heard about, I just went to, was a lady about an hour from here. One of our franchisees sold her, I think it was 22 security screens for her windows and her doors to keep her cats in. Now, these right. So what they are is they're a hinged screen that is made for security, but it's made with a stainless steel mesh, so you can't cut it. If you hit it with a hammer, you can't get through it, or an axe. It's really strong, so it's made for security. But she wanted it so that her cats can't get out of her house.
Wow.
And so, this lady spent like $22,000 on
amazing
security screens just for her cats. I'm like, I want to go see these cats, because that's,
that's
are they made of gold or something? And those stories just go on and on in our system. You just be amazed what our guys are doing with this and the different applications for it. It
must be fun when all the franchisees get together, Scott, for you, to share those stories, because I bet you every single one of them has a story like that, and it makes me think that, a lot of times we ask questions like, what is a typical day like? But I imagine every day is probably a little bit different. Of course, you have the system and processes are always the same for Screenmobile, but I imagine every day is probably a little bit different, right? Because you're dealing with different types of scenarios, aren't you?
If every house was the same, then every day would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Every house is different. Every need's different. And that's probably the exciting part. That's a fun part when our franchisees get in is it's not the same thing every day, day in and day out. It's new and exciting. It's challenging. They're trying to figure things out. They're trying to figure out applications. They're selling different products or learning different products. They're finding that it's not that hard, and they're getting comfortable with it, and they're getting more confident, and they're selling. We have more income streams that they're selling, and they're making more money. It just really works well that way. So it is far from routine.
Right.
The only routine I would say is, our franchisees are going out to customers, and what you're going to be doing with the customers sometimes just vary tremendously.
And I think that's the interesting part about it. That's what I've always loved about Screenmobile when I've interviewed you the first time, Scott, is that you do have that diversity. Franchising is very much routine. Like there's some franchise concepts I can give you where it's almost the same single thing every single day. There's a lot of them out there, but that's not the case with Screenmobile. So I think that's really interesting. What do you look for today in your franchisees, Scott? I mean, when you're meeting with prospective franchisees, what types of characteristics or traits are you looking for in your franchisees?
Marty, you asked me this, I think, 5 or 6 years ago, whenever the last time we talked, and it seems like every year we try and focus in more and more and get it narrower and narrower for the type of people that we're looking for. And, there's characteristics and traits. They've got to be great with people. They've got to be, they want to work outdoors. They have to have a customer service mindset. They have to be mechanically inclined. That's kind of the basics that we look for. But more in the last years, we're looking for how do they manage their money? Because we can give everybody the same system and the same opportunity, but they'll blow themselves up if they've blown themselves up in the past, and they're probably going to do it again in the future. So we look for people that, hey, are you good stewards with the resources that you have? Are you managing that well? Because if you're managing it well now, you're probably going to manage it well when you get into business with us. And that's one of the things that I've really looked at, and we've kind of set that bar up a little bit higher, is just personal money management. And that doesn't really come across in your initial conversations. As they go through the education process and we start learning about who they are and what they're doing and what they're looking for and what they've done in the past, we start exploring that, because it's really important for our franchisees to be successful. And we want to make sure that if they've been successful in the past, we'd love to have them be successful with us in the future. But if they've struggled with money management, maybe now's not the time to join our system. Maybe some education, maybe go into some, money management classes to learn how to manage your personal life before you get into your business life. And so that's one of the big changes that we've looked at this last years.
It's interesting, Seth, because I've been asking that question, for 12 years now, and I haven't heard that response. But I mean, it makes so much sense as you're suggesting it. Is money management is certainly a critical part, probably for, I guess, any franchise, of course. But it does. It really makes so much sense. Last time I talked to you, you mentioned that the training was out in California. How's the training today? I mean, what's it like? Is it still out in California, and what changes have you made to the training?
Well, we call it SMU, Screenmobile University, or we call it Screen School, kind of a screen school. And so we it's 10 days. 8 to 5, very busy days, a lot of information. And that's kind of gets them in their first 2 weeks of training. And what we also started, we call it a fast start program. So for 13 weeks after training, we have a weekly call to go over multiple different subjects for the next 13 weeks. And what we found that our training is really great. It's a great training. I mean, we really take them from nuts to bolts, but it's the retention of that information when they get out into the field and they start applying it that is challenging. And so we've come up with a fast start program that helps them reinforce some of the things they learned at class and continue to reinforce it for the next 13 weeks afterwards. And so we're seeing that if we get them through that and support them at least in the first 13 weeks, we set the trajectory differently on their success. And instead of them ramping up and taking them longer to ramp up, we can ramp them up quicker. We can get them more confident, increasing their sales quicker if they just follow along the system. And we thought we did it well with the 2 weeks of training and then supporting them, but we found we had to put a little more structure around that to ensure that they get the information they need and they learn the system. Most franchises teach a system. We all teach a system. But it's how well they learn and implement that system. And what we found, and one thing that's been different from when we talked last, is we're trying to help our franchisees learn it quicker so that they become more successful faster.
You probably know more about screens than anybody, Scott. It's not something that you really think about. I mean, most people have them, of course, but have there been changes like in screening, like over the last, 10, 20, 30 years? Again, it's something I never thought about, but it's yet, nevertheless, it's so important, isn't it?
It is. The basic window screen has been around for over 100 years. That's a pretty consistent Yeah, it's pretty consistent. You know, before aluminum came out and it was cheaper for aluminum, they did it out of steel. Steel framing with a steel rod that went in over copper screen. That's how they started. Right. And then back in the 50s, a guy by the name of Reese Pfeiffer developed a fiberglass process with a vinyl coating over it, and that has taken over the industry. Probably 95% of all the window screens on doors have fiberglass screen in it now. It's easier to work with. It doesn't dent, doesn't rust or corrode. And so, you know, just the evolution from, let's say, how the basic screen is made and how the different products are coming in. And what we're also finding as the manufacturers are maturing, they're becoming innovative. And so some of the products that they're coming out with now, they just announced like a self-cleaning screen, sheds water, dust. There's pollen screen that keeps out pollen. They run into you probably run into a lot of that pollen. They have a pollen season.
Right.
And,
yes, we do.
Yeah, and so and then there's pet product screens. There's down south there's screens that for no-see-ums, that get through the screens. They make them really, really small screens, and then they make screens for fountains so that the water doesn't splash out. They make screens for keeping the sunlight out so that you can shade your windows to reduce heat gain from the inside of the house. And then they have screens that slide up and down. They have vinyl panels that go on screen porches so that you can make it a 3-seasons room. And then they'll go into rolling screens. So now there's a outdoor living concepts is huge. And they're building all these really nice backyards, outdoor spaces with a barbecue and couches and fans and heating elements. And now they want to put screens on there so that they can keep the bugs out. And they do those in rolls. And then home automation came along. So now we have motors that hook up with their home automation systems. And it just goes on and on. It's just amazing. And the latest thing that just came out is a guy, came out with we usually have an aluminum frame, and now he has a flexible frame so it doesn't bend, which is it works in some windows, but not in all. And so, people have a tendency when they take out their windows, they bend their screen. We got to come by and fix them. Well, hey, if your window can take this type of a screen system, maybe we'll put one of these in so you don't have to worry about bending them anymore.
I imagine when you become a franchisee, and I could probably say this about yourself too, Scott, you notice all these things, don't you? I mean, when you go out, if you're going to a restaurant or wherever you go, you notice all these things, don't you?
It's so crazy. I was over in Europe over the summer, and my wife's taking pictures of the beautiful churches and the beautiful fountains and gardens, and I'm taking pictures of the window screens and the different door applications.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. I think that's really great. Do you still have the, last time I talked to you too, you had the original, I think you had the original trailer in front of your office. Do you still have that there today?
We do still have that today. We put it up on some concrete pillars, and we put this old tent trailer sitting out in front of our office, and we have people come out for a discovery day, and they walk by this trailer and don't really pay attention. And so part of our orientation, our discovery day, is we go through a little bit of the history. And so we'll take them right out there, and we'll lean against the trailer, and we'll talk about how we started in the beginnings. And it's neat for us. For other people, it doesn't make a difference. But for us, it's part of who we are. And
well, I think it adds to
we
the
just
culture.
Want to keep that out there.
It does.
Oh,
It's part of the whole history, of how, this whole thing began. So I think it's great. You've been a franchisee, Scott, and you've been a franchisor. And, when we have someone like yourself on the show, because you have all this experience, I was mentioning that, our listeners, still to this date, we find that a lot of them don't know where to begin when they're looking to get into franchising. After everything you've learned after all these years, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
Buying a franchise, I would change that mindset of buying a franchise is to joining a franchise team. And so I would look at who you're going to be joining with, how they do business, what their culture is like, how their team operates, how they operate with their franchisees, and that just takes some time to figure that out. And so I would have them. My advice to anybody is figure out what you like. what works well with you. If you're a foodie and you like to do restaurants, do restaurants. If your thing is I don't like to deal with people and I want to do something with computers, do computers. Figure out first what really will get you up every day in the morning. And then once you figure that out, maybe it's I want to be in the home services world. Well, in the home services, there's so many different types of franchise systems. And so then you've got to, they're all great systems, but they have different cultures. And so what you're looking for and what your expectations are, be really upfront and have that conversation with yourself saying, hey, this is what I'm looking for in a franchise system. The revenue will be up to me. I'm the one who has to put the effort into it, and I'm the one that's going to have to make it happen. But can I work with that culture and with that franchise system? Does it match who I am? And then probably the last thing I would say to that is make sure that you have that conversation with your franchisor so that his or her expectations and your expectations are aligned. And I call that open kimono. When I have somebody come out here for Discovery Day and I get my team together, one of the first things I tell them is, hey, listen, we're going to be just open kimono with you. Just show you everything that we can so that you know what to expect when you join our system. I can't tell you how much you're going to make. Don't know. I don't know how hard you're going to work. So we're going to take that off the table. But anything else that we can help you with so that you can make a good decision, and in the same time, we want to make a good decision about you. So you kind of have to match our culture as well. And if what you're expecting and what we have to offer matches, and what you're looking for as far as a culture and what we offer, if that matches, and if you have the potential to make money from using our system and the territories available, and you have the drive and your skill sets match what we're looking for, then we ought to do something. But if any of those don't line up, then go find one that does.
That's great advice. Do you still see the concept expanding internationally at some point, Scott? I mean, are you still looking at like places like Canada or Australia and places like that? Yep. I know you still have territory open in the United States, but are you still looking towards those other markets?
Yeah. Canada would be our next one, next endeavor. We're getting close to that. We've probably got another year to 2 years to put underneath our belt here. As we grow, and we've been growing pretty good. Pretty good. Last year we between resales and new locations, I think we're about 17, and this year I think we'll probably do the same. If the economy holds, I think we'll do the same. We're getting this great interest. Anything that's healthy grows.
Right.
And so you go all the way downstream to the point, or upstream, depending on which way you look at it. If your franchisees are healthy, they validate for you. They renew because they're making money, and then other people want to join that. So so we have, when we meet with our franchisees and they talk to potential franchisees, validation is great because they're happy. They like what they're doing. And we found people where their expectations and our expectations align. And you end up with happy franchisees that are doing well. And sometimes you miss it. It's like anything. Life happens. Right. And as you get in, as things change in life, sometimes the expectations change. And that happens. I mean, we have that happen. You do it long enough. Stuff happens in people's lives, and you have to adjust with that. But most of the time, our expectations align, and we do really well with a great group of people. And
that's terrific.
So,
what's the best way, Scott, for our listeners to get more information on Screenmobile? Of course, there's the franchise opportunity, but even the service, itself. Are there any websites that you'd like them to go to check out?
Yeah, we have a couple of them, but the best one to go to is just Screenmobile.com. That's our consumer site. Okay. And they can punch around on that consumer site. They'll find the franchise opportunity site if they want to look at that. They can see all of our different products. But Screenmobile.com is probably the best resource. They can get to our corporate office if they want to. They can get to our development team. But that kind of gives you the breadth and the feel of the company.
That's terrific. Well, it's been great to have you on the show again, Scott. And as I mentioned to you, the first time I had you on the show, I've been familiar with Screenmobile for a long time, so and I think it's a wonderful franchise opportunity. I get to interview a lot of people like yourself, and Screenmobile has really stood out, over the 600 plus interviews. So I'd like to congratulate you on all the success that you've had, and continue to invite you back over the next couple of years as you continue to grow, because I think you guys are great.
We'd love to do that, Marty. Thanks for the opportunity.
This has been my
great
pleasure,
chatting with
Scott.
you again.
Absolutely. Same here, Scott. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities, or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott, the president of Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. Well, one of the shows I strongly recommend listening to if you're an aspiring entrepreneur is Stop Riding the Pine. And the show is hosted by Jamie J. And Jamie is an amazing interviewer. He speaks with entrepreneurs on a variety of topics. And I had the pleasure of appearing on Stop Riding the Pine. And one of the topics that Jamie and I were focusing on were key elements to successful franchising. So this particular clip of Great Quote in Franchising, we're going to call this There's No Creativity in Franchising, and we're going to explain why.
What do I want this franchise to do for me? Why are you considering getting into franchising? Because, a lot of times people that get into franchising, Jamie, I think probably should not get into franchising. They'll go into it for the wrong reasons. Well, they'll see the success of one franchise and they'll say, God, I wish I owned one of these. But that doesn't mean that they should necessarily buy into a Dunkin' Donuts franchise. And sometimes they go into the wrong franchise opportunity. So they might be suited for a franchise, but they're getting into the wrong franchise, So I think you really have to be open, to all the different categories that are out there. Again, going deep within yourself and asking yourself, what do I want this franchise to do for me? If you don't want to work on weekends, then don't get into one of these like children franchises where they're real busy on Saturdays or Sundays. So you have to say, what do I want it to do for me? And you ask yourself those deep-rooted questions.
Perfect. I think that's huge. It's very important for people to not jump into something.
Absolutely, because it's expensive too, Jamie. I mean, a lot of times, you're signing a 10-year contract, which is 10 years of your life. It's a long time, isn't it? I mean, it's
oh my
almost
gosh.
like I won't compare it to the sanctity of marriage, but
Right.
sometimes it goes further than that, I mean, having that 10-year commitment, so it is a very big commitment. Financially, it's a big commitment. I think you have to have the support from your family, whether it's your wife and your children, because the first year, typically from what I've learned in doing this show such a long time now, is it takes a long time to get it off the ground. Even if it is a Subway franchise or a very recognizable brand name, you're still going to be putting a lot of work into it, so
Right.
you might be missing that time from your family. And sometimes people get into franchising for the wrong reasons as well. Maybe they'll have a bad day at work, and they say, oh, I hate my boss,
I'm out of here.
I want to be my own boss, and franchising may not be the best alternative for that type of person. There's so many different types of levels of entrepreneurship. Franchising is just one. I mean, you could just initially start your own business where you get to be the creator. There's no, I hate to say this, but there's no creativity in franchising sometimes. I mean, you have to follow somebody else's creation, and that's okay for some people. For me, it wouldn't be. And I assume in getting to know you over time, you might have trouble with that as well, because again, you like to create.
I couldn't get outside of the structure, but I understand why that would be a good thing, because
exactly,
okay, they've been there, they've done that. You won't make the same mistakes that the original franchisor made, because they found the solutions along the way, and that's part of the attraction for franchise.
Exactly. I published. It sounds like I'm bragging, Jimmy, but I just got one of a paper published in.
You deserve it.
If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Jamie J of Stop Riding the Pine, all you have to do is go to stopridingthepine.com, and you can hear the whole podcast. And lastly, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big success. It's hard to imagine that we've been doing it now 10 years ago. It was one of the things I was talking about with Jamie on the show, is the longevity of the show. Is what started out to be a 1-month project turned out to be 10 years. So I just want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast and making it such a success. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
At Fine Wine and Good Spirits, the word "and" brings together more than what our name suggests. More than wine from regions all around the world. And more than the ingredients to craft a perfect cocktail. Because while "and" is at the center of everything we do, it's only the start of all you can discover. No matter what you're bringing together, Fine Wine and Good Spirits will be here to help complete every unique combination. The possibilities are endless. Stop in stores or explore more at fwgs.com. Please enjoy responsibly.
Get a great offer on the stylish HR-V or the Honda Civic, which Car and Driver called fun to drive. Honda, the brand named Kelley Blue Book's KBB.com Best Value Brand for 2023. For a limited time, well-qualified buyers can get a 3.9% APR on a 2024 Honda Civic or HR-V.
See dealer for financing details. Exclude Civic SI and Type R Car and Driver January 2023 based on 2023 brand image awards from Kelley Blue Book. Visit KBB.com for more information.